out of this 4-team tournament. They're not one of the best 4 teams in the nation, but they are very good. And I do believe that they deserve a shot. But they're not the only team that was left out of the top 4 that deserves a shot. Like, I do think that Ohio State legitimately deserves a shot. Now, they don't deserve a shot over the 4 teams that made it in.
Yeah.
But if you're telling me that you put Ohio State in a playoff, they couldn't make a run and win a title, you're crazy. They absolutely can. They're very talented, and Urban Meyer is one of the best coaches in America.
Absolutely.
But, yeah.
Like, it's the kind of thing where, like, everybody saw it and was like, UCF put it in the top 4. But maybe it's bad because there's only a top 4.
Yeah, and look, I understand that nobody wants to play more games. But we already play a bunch of games. So at this point, what needs to happen is you expand the playoff. I think you expand it to 6. I think 8 might feel like too much for people. I do think, by the way, we eventually wind up at 8. I just think that we're going to have to do this thing in chunks. I don't think that people are ready for 8. So we'll do 6. Top teams get a bye, and then everyone else plays. And then you have to have some mechanism so that teams like UCF get to play. Like, we actually give them a chance to be the team that gets an upset. Because we know that it can happen. We know that a team like UCF can play a team like Auburn and beat them. Now, I contend, by the way, and I still contend at this very moment, that Auburn was not prepared for that football game, and that Auburn looked like they thought that they were just going to beat UCF and didn't try as hard as they could have tried. That's what it looked like to me. Now, it's not UCF's fault that Auburn came in there half-baked. I mean, that's not UCF came out and beat the team that took the field. The team that took the field was not ready to play. But if that can happen in the Peach Bowl, which is nationally televised on everyone's day off, if that can happen in the Peach Bowl, then it can happen at any time. And if it can happen at any time, then go ahead and let that team in the playoff and expand the playoff so that a team like that gets a chance. Because I do think that Conference USA is getting better. And Conference USA is going to be, we're going to have Power 6 conferences again. I think Conference USA is on the cusp of that. I don't think they're ready yet.
No, they're probably a couple, or like maybe somewhere in like the 5-year range away. But like, they're, even at this point, when we know they're not ready now, they're putting like 2 to 3, 5 teams in every year.
So that says something. That says that this conference is definitely improving. The level of coaching is high. SMU is really good. USF was really good. UCF was really good. Memphis was really good. There's someone else in there that was also really good. But you see it. They're growing. They're developing. But this is how you get them there. This is how you give them that national notoriety, is that if you get them the chance to be David knocking off Goliath in a game that actually matters, you give them that opportunity to grow as a conference, and you give some of these other smaller conferences an opportunity to do that as well. Because first off, that's the big exciting thing about the NCAA tournament in college basketball, is that you give these small schools a chance, and all of a sudden you get upsets. You get Davidson upsetting teams, and Lehigh University upsetting teams, and like William and Mary. I've never heard of that university until one day they ruined my bracket. Like, you just have these teams getting the opportunity to upset, and if you don't give them the opportunity, they never will. So yeah, I imagine that at some point, in light of the fact that we have 2 SEC teams in a title game, we're going to have to expand this thing, because I can't imagine that the Big Ten is happy about being left out. Conference USA is obviously not happy, but the Big Ten is like, no, we're a Power 5. In the spot of 2 SEC schools, we want it. I can't imagine that Ohio State's thrilled. I can't imagine that Penn State's thrilled after their great bowl game as well. So we're going to see a lot of these things changing as a result of the SEC getting 2 schools in a national title game. Who knows? Maybe we don't even see such a thing ever again if they don't expand. You're listening to all new Nooga Radio and NoogaRadio.com here on 92.7 FM. Clutch with Keon Rose. Next.
The Tennessee Valley's news talk leader, Nooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM. 3, 2, 1. Chattanooga Radio, Digital FM 95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM's news. Now,
closings and delays starting to come in across our area. Bradley County Schools on a 2-hour delay for tomorrow and the day after, and Dade County Schools in Georgia on a 2-hour delay tomorrow and the day after. All staff to report in at the regular time. Early morning house fire in Ottawa, 3 people hospitalized and 1 person missing. It happened at 5:45 this morning when a neighbor called 911 to Shady Oak Drive, and Hamilton County EMS along with the volunteer fire department rushed to the scene. They put the fire out, but apparently 3 people had to be taken to the hospital because of their injuries, and 1 person has not been found. The Hamilton County Sheriff's Office is trying to track him down. Frigid temperatures have led to plumbing problems all across Hamilton County. The Tennessee American Water Company trying to keep up with all the water main breaks, leaving some roads too dangerous to traverse. Sean Hannity, weekdays 3 to 6. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7.
Valley's news talk leader, Nooga Radio, Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
Oh man, rush. I've got to get stuff for the party. Where can I go that's going to give me a wide selection of beer, wines, and spirits? Oh, I got it. I'll go to Harry's Wine and Spirits, Signal Mountain. Maybe East Brainerd Wine and Spirits in East Brainerd. I could go to Riley's Wines and Spirits in Hickson. Wow, look at the huge selection in here. Look at these great prices. Amazing. Oh yeah, I'm going to find something for my lady too. I'm going to make this party a success.
Make your party a success when you stop in at Harry's Wine and Spirits in Signal Mountain, East Brainerd Wine and Spirits in East Brainerd, and Riley's Wine and Spirits in Hickston. An automated nuclear missile defense system has suddenly entered into launch mode, and you are the only one who can stop it. Escape Experience Chattanooga. Your team has just been infected with a deadly virus. Your only hope? There, in an abandoned farmhouse. Escape Experience Chattanooga. Handcuffed in a maximum security prison, you have an hour to flee. Escape Experience Chattanooga. These escape scenarios and more at Chattanooga's best escape room, game, and team building platform. Call now. Slots are limited. Register online at escapeexperience.com/Chattanooga. Escape Experience Chattanooga.
If your computer is running slow, if you have viruses, if someone called you asking to get into your computer, just say no. If a screen pops up on your computer saying your data is going to be deleted and you have to call this number, don't call it. You need to call Affordable Computers. You wouldn't invite a stranger to come into your house to look at all your books and records. So why would you invite someone to look at your records on your computer? With one wrong click of the mouse, you could be allowing access into your entire system. At Affordable Computers, we can stop them now. Don't be fooled by scammers and pop-ups that tell you you must call this number or your hard drive is going to be deleted. You need to call Affordable Computers. Call Affordable Computers now. Microsoft is never going to call you. Microsoft is never going to ask you to call them. If you see that on your screen, you are being scammed. Stop and call Affordable Computers. 423-499-1975. That's 423-499-1975. In Fort Oglethorpe, call 706-858-5888. That's 706-858-5888. Affordable Computers.
95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM.
Expect fair to partly cloudy skies continue through your nighttime. Cold overnight, lows mid and upper 20s. Now for your Wednesday, look for some sunshine with a breeze out of the north, though. Like cold highs of around 40 with more mainly dry and cold weather expected through Friday. Celebrate the new year with Dixieland Fireworks, locally owned with the largest selection around. A Black Cat dealer with the lowest prices in Dixieland Fireworks, just off I-75 on Ringgold Road, East Ridge. And I'm 1412, Chief Meteorologist at your 4.
Broadcasting live to over 1 million souls in Chattanooga, the Tennessee Valley, and beyond on frequency modulation 92.7. Sean Hannity, 25,000 watts on digital FM 95.3 HD4. CBS Radio News, NASCAR, Bloomberg Markets, David Tulis, streaming strong at NoogaRadio.com. Live on YouTube and Facebook. Nooga Radio, News Talk 92.7. Chattanooga Radio.
So one little bit of news that we didn't get into yesterday was that Carson Palmer also retired. He retired right along with his head coach. Bruce Arians retired yesterday, leaving a coaching vacancy with Arizona. But then Carson Palmer also retired. And it's interesting, Carson Palmer, because Carson Palmer is one of those guys that when you see the potential that his career could have had. And there's some players that just exhibit that. And then you see, they have terrible injuries or there's some tragedy that befalls them. They never get the chance. Carson Palmer's a guy, like we all agree, was on track to be a great quarterback. And by the way, when you look at his career, it's not like Carson Palmer was a bad quarterback. It's not like he never put it together. It's that athletically, he was just never the same after having his knee basically just destroyed in Cincinnati in one of the bigger hits that I've ever seen a quarterback take down low. And one of the reasons why you have that rule that quarterbacks can't take that level of damage down low is in large part because of Carson Palmer and because of that injury that he was able to take, but that he did take, and that he bounced back from it, but he was never the same. And that to me is one of the more sad stories in sports, and it's surprisingly common, but it's still with him. A guy that could have been great got robbed of an opportunity to be great. And that's what feels particularly tragic about the trajectory of that guy's career, especially that one season that he had in Arizona where it looked like, okay, he's revitalizing this whole thing. Is that you got to see moments and flashes of what Carson Palmer could have been had he been able to be healthy his entire football career. And that's kind of sad to me.
Absolutely. I guess I'm in somewhat of a unique position because I missed his best years in Cincinnati. And then, so I was like surprised when he was that great in his first year at Arizona. And from there, it was just, I think age had finally caught up with him. And so he declined, and people were saying that he was like washed and stuff. And probably true towards like this year, maybe last year, but like to see that he could do that and that he might have had a chance to do what he did in Arizona at a much younger age. It's brutal to see that got taken away from him and kind of from all of us.
Yeah, I mean, because that's a great point that you bring up about the younger age, is that Carson Palmer was not doing any of this stuff that he was doing in Arizona in his prime. Arizona. When he's been able to be healthy, he's been pretty good. But we missed his prime, and so did he. And that's the part that really stinks. And so yeah, when I look at Carson Palmer, I'm like, man, I hope that does not happen to anybody else. But also, Carson Palmer has the unfortunate, the timing of his career is also not optimal to medical science and how far we've moved this thing along, right? Like it's that old joke of what is the point of like, if you have an explorer spirit, you live in an unfortunate time period in history. You are too late to explore the world because we know it all, we have it all mapped. But you're too early to explore space because we don't have the technology to go. So you're here, and there's nothing left to explore here. So you've got an explorer spirit. You've got to like make up stuff to explore. That's kind of the thing with Carson Palmer. Carson Palmer injured his knee. I believe it was an ACL tear. And it was too early. It was too early for us to have the kind of technology to where you destroy your knee, you come back from that. I mean, Adrian Peterson, we've seen him come back from an ACL tear. We've seen many quarterbacks since then come back from ACL tears and played just fine. Tom Brady came back from an ACL tear. He was fine. We have advanced medical science to the point where an ACL tear is no longer the end. But when Carson Palmer got injured, that is one of those injuries that you're like, it might be over. I don't know about that. But now, I mean, Deshaun Watson tore his ACL this year. Anybody be worried?
Not particularly, no. I mean, obviously, there's the immediate disappointment factor of how great his year was going, but
yeah, I mean, yeah, we were robbed of a guy that was having a fantastic rookie season.
Like, no one's thinking we're gonna have a long-term thing where we never got to see Deshaun Watson's true potential.
Yeah, right. Like that's what I'm saying. Like, there's no, yeah, we're not feeling like, oh yeah, we might be robbed of Deshaun Watson's whole career. Like Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater went down with that injury. He almost lost his leg because that was more than an ACL tear. And from what I understand, There were players on the team that when they saw the injury, they were throwing up on the field. Like it was like his knee was like above his thigh, basically. It was just like, how did that even happen? It was a non-contact injury. Stuff like that, we still like are iffy on. But if an ACL tear, a meniscus tear, an Achilles tear, this stuff used to end careers. You tear your Achilles, you're not done. You might be done if it happens late in your career. But if you're still in your prime, if you're still young, and you're willing to get in there and do the rehab, a lot of times that torn ligament is stronger than the original leg, like to the point where like the weaker leg is the one that didn't have surgery, ironically. So yeah, like we're not scared of this stuff anymore. Now, also, and this is a little tangential, but I do want to talk about it because it just popped into my head. The idea that you could play sports, and one of the routine parts of the sports is the surgery involved, to where it's so routine that we're good at it. We're good at fixing destroyed knee ligaments. We've gotten very good at this. And I also think about this with baseball and Tommy John surgery, because your body was not meant to do any of the things that these guys are doing. None of the things. Like the human arm was actually mechanically not designed to throw a baseball. And yet here we are throwing a baseball at such high speeds that people are tearing the ligament in their elbow, and then you have to have Tommy John surgery. And Tommy John surgery is, again, another one of those surgeries you used to hear, boy, that guy has Tommy John surgery. That used to end careers, man. Like, you had Tommy John surgery, you came back maybe, but you had to change your pitching style, maybe you had to change your pitching motion. You were never the same again. Now, guys get Tommy John surgery in maybe their first, second, third season. They're fine. They're fine. Steven Strasburg is a great pitcher. He's fine.
Larger commentary on the entertainment industry and the fact that this was just by its nature bad for us, but rather than stopping it, we just got better at it to the point where it's not so bad for us.
Yeah, I mean, we don't mind chopping these guys up for entertainment, and we've done this so often. We've perfected it. This is alarming to me. That no one finds this as crazy as I seem to find this. The matter is, you are playing, like if you're an athlete, you are playing in an industry where your body is being asked to do a number of things that human bodies previous to this were never asked to do. Never. Your body's being asked to do all kinds of things. And the people who fix you are so good at fixing you because so many people like you have been destroyed doing what you're doing that they could not possibly do it any better. Like medical science has advanced to that level. That is ridiculous to me. That is beyond actually ridiculous. And so yeah, I always wonder about this stuff. Like really hard, because like sometimes I ask myself when I watch sports, like, what are we doing? What on earth are we actually doing? I have no idea. Like we are just running people into the ground, and we almost don't care.
Yeah, I think,
like, okay, so Isaiah Thomas, not current NBA Isaiah Thomas, but original Isaiah Thomas of the Bad Boy Pistons, his career ended with an ACL tear. It's like, if he played in today's game, he gets surgery and he tries to finish it out. His career was like 9 years long. That's super short now. 9 years is like a good, solid career back then. 9 years, not 9 years. I cut it was like 13 years. 13 years is like a good, solid career, but like 9 years back then, good career. Like now, you tear your Achilles. No, you have the surgery. You come back. Like Kobe tore his Achilles and still played those 2 awful years of basketball afterwards. But you wouldn't do that. Then it wouldn't be possible. You wouldn't have dreamed it.
No, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Isaiah Thomas's injury was like in the postseason, but so that might have affected like playing time. But an injury like that in the regular season, we'll see you next year.
Yeah, current Isaiah Thomas. And by the way, Current Isaiah Thomas played with that injury through the playoffs last year. And because of the ability that we have to sort of medicate players, and we have all of these exercises and things that they can do to play through pain and to play through their body, basically saying, hey, stop this. They are capable of doing this. We wouldn't have been capable of doing that years ago. I mean, it's insane, is what it is. It's absolutely insane.
The number of like just broken or fractured like ribs and stuff, or like even pierced lungs that people have just like they've been back next week and no one has ever been like stopped to applaud their spirit or something.
Right. Listen. Talked earlier today, Sam Jordan on Sport Talk with Sam Jordan comes on for this show. And myself yesterday, we talked about Jack Del Rio being fired. And, you know, the team went 7-9. But here's the thing that I find most fascinating about this. His back. He fractured 2 discs in his back. He came back 2 weeks later and finished the season. That is, to me, alarming. And the fact that no one seems to be I'm making a big deal about it because your starting quarterback, your franchise quarterback, played with a broken back. Listen, y'all, I do radio. This is not a physical job. It's not an easy job. You've got to prepare. You've got to know what you're talking about. You think it's fun until you run out of stuff to talk about, and you look up at that clock and it says you've got 10 minutes to keep on talking. That is not a good feeling, okay? I promise you. But this job is not physically demanding. I can tell you that. I mean, it's not easy, but it's not physically demanding in any particular kind of way. If I stub my toe, I stay home. If I break my back, I'm out for a month. You will not find me doing this radio show with a broken back. And I don't have to lift anything. Nothing. That man played football with a broken back, and everyone was like, no, this is fine. And to me, that's crazy. That's wild. That we just expect athletes to sort of tank through all of this pain because we've gotten our science to the point where, yeah, now you can just deal with it. We've made it manageable. The human body was not made to endure the hits that an NFL quarterback takes while your back is broken. Because I've had back trouble before in the past. I used to work at World Market, and I lifted heavy objects, and sometimes those objects were in awkward places, and you couldn't lift with great form. You didn't have the chance to. You tried, but when the opportunity presented itself, you did. But if it didn't, you still had to lift the box. Like, they're still paying you to move this stuff, so do it. And yeah, I remember one time, man, I pulled my back and I couldn't stand for 3 days. I kid you not. I was laying on my back on the floor of my apartment, and I could not stand. Like that's some of the worst pain I've ever felt. And some guy named Derek Carr broke his and played football.
The funniest thing is, like, in an older version of Madden, I would play with my brother and we'd just go through like the season, like the franchise mode, and we were the Panthers. And then at some point in the simulation, Jonathan Stewart, like, he fractured a vertebrae. And that was just the career-ending injury for him in the thing. And now people are actually playing through that.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that crazy? Oh, man. That is the craziest thing to me. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on 92.7 FM, all new Nooga Radio, and NoogaRadio.com. So one thing I wanted to ask you, because this is alarming to me, which is that the Seattle Seahawks have no semblance of a running game whatsoever. None. They can't even pretend to run the ball. They just can't even pretend to run the ball because there's no design on that team. Once Marshawn Lynch left, their ability to run the ball dropped to nil. So in the draft, they should probably consider picking a guy up that can do that. Probably, I would highly recommend that. But here's the thing that I find interesting: is that Russell Wilson had the Seahawks at 9-7. They missed the playoffs, but the only reason why they were even close to the playoffs is that Russell Wilson was carrying the team. Should Russell Wilson win the MVP?
I feel like he's done clearly enough to earn it. Like, I don't know who else you could point to and be like, clearly this individual player was more valuable to their team than Russell Wilson.
It's hard to find one. It's hard to find one.
He went out there throwing to, but not people who, outside of Seattle fans, would know the 1 and 2 guys.
Yeah, I mean, like Doug Baldwin and Tyler Lockett are good, but they're not transcendent receivers. There's no Julio Jones, AJ Green on that team. Right? There's no Antonio Brown on that team. And I read a crazy stat earlier. The stat is alarming. Russell Wilson accounted for 81.5% of that team's yardage from scrimmage, both rushing and passing. 81.5%.
I mean, that's just crazy. Doing that with a forgettable, no offense, but forgettable receiving core behind a near non-existent offensive line with like no running back at all.
And that Seattle defense is
yes.
banged up.
And the defense that just kept getting more and more injured the further the season went.
Like, we've never had a player miss the playoffs and be MVP of the league. But I think there's an exception to be made with Russell Wilson, which is the fact that they never had a chance of making the playoffs without him. This team is not only not a watchable football team without Russell Wilson, they're the worst team in the league without him. They're the worst team in the league without him. 81.5% of the team's yardage was that guy. And he's doing this as an undersized quarterback. He's doing this with depleted, gone. He's putting up big numbers. He's giving the team a chance to win week in and week out. Like, he's my MVP. In terms of what does MVP stand for? He's the most valuable player. He's the most valuable player to his team. Okay? And even if you were like, okay, what about his value to the whole league? The fact that he kept the team in the playoff hunt as late into the season as he did provides tremendous value to the NFL. So you can't even make that argument. What he did is absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, he proved basically with an award called the most valuable player, he proved that he is more valuable as an individual than even Aaron Rodgers, as that team managed to be nearly in playoff contention by like winning a game here or there, even without him. And in a similar circumstance where Russell Wilson goes down, you can just forget about the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, I mean, you put Brett Hundley in the place of Russell Wilson on that football team, and you understand that football team goes nowhere and does nothing. Like, Green Bay is not devoid of weapons, and Green Bay is not devoid of talent, right? I mean, Jordy Nelson, and I know that he hasn't had the best few seasons since he's torn his ACL, but he's still a good receiver, and they have a bunch of guys that are pretty decent pass catchers. You've got Baldwin and Lockett, but with those guys being both small guys, I think Lockett is 5'11", and Baldwin is either 5'11" or 6 foot. Like, they're not big guys. Both of those guys, the way you have to throw the ball to them in space, you have to be perfect with these throws, and Wilson is all the time. He almost never misses those throws. And the fact that he is responsible for his own protection and extending the play, he is responsible for his own running game, because he is the leading rusher on the team and it's not close. He is responsible for his own passing game. He's responsible for anything offensive that this team generates. Here's another crazy Seattle stat. 0 rushing yards for the Seattle Seahawks inside of the 10-yard line.
They need not just a running back. They need like the best running back in the upcoming draft.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Seattle and you're 9-7, so I think you're in a good enough striking range. And you got to jump up and you got to take Saquon Barkley. I think you have to. You need some kind of game-changing running back. Because what happened last year, you're going to get Russell Wilson killed. You're going to get that guy killed. You've been listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on all new Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com here on 92.7 FM. Thank you for joining me today and making me just a small part of your day. You know that I appreciate you. Remember, folks, it's not how you start, It's how you finish. Stay clutch. And I'll see you all in 24 hours.